This video is for entertainment purposes only. Do your own research.
From UFOs to weird things we know, it's time for that paranormal, strange, phenomenal show. Biometric wars, a prison planet run by the man. It's time for the Tinfoil Canadian. Take off your hose.
Hello to all you fellow tinfoilers. Welcome to the 4th episode of the Tinfoil Canadian. Today's show is one I have been looking forward to discussing in depth on this channel. You will not find much for politics or Hollywood news here, as this channel was made to see past the veil that is being held over our eyes every day. The only political thing you will hear me say is that it is a sad, sad day for my cousins down south. In Canada, it is the same story really though, isn't it? The wings of a bird, both the left and right, are still part of the bird, eh? Today's topic is suppressed technology. Sometimes I think stories in the mainstream political news distracts us from the real problems that can or have been solved in today's world. We are just not allowed to implement the solutions.
Created a car that runs on water, and then this car that ran on water, I mean, he apparently had a viable engine and it was really working, and then he had a heart attack, and as he was dying he was saying, they killed me, and then he died.
What happens to the water in the wintertime? Does it freeze up? Well, part of our technology was in the areas of development what we call a steam resonator. Now, since the unlike atoms take on opposite electrical charges, we simply use another part of our technology to restrict the Angstrom voltage to take over, and therefore we agitate the water molecules, which in turn generates kinetic energy, which in turn heats the water. What we call the laser accelerator control. And this had to be developed in order to translate from a mechanical displacement to an electronic displacement in order to allow the hydrogen computer system to produce the gas on demand based on acceleration control. So what you're really seeing with the water fuel cell as it is today is that we have a full system engineering approach, allowing us now to use water as a main fuel source to be able to run a conventional engine and run it on water and do it and equal or supersede the performance of a car running on gasoline and diesel fuel.
Go ahead and use snow. If you don't have any snow available to you, then use salt water because there's no adverse effect to the fuel cell.
But in actuality, the entire technology you see here is really reduced down to the water fuel cell injectors you see right here.
Which this is the only thing that's needed for upgrading a car, or is there anything else involved?
No, the water fuel cell injector, which replaces the conventional spark plug in an internal combustion engine, this is hooked up to a water tank. Basically, if you have a plastic fuel tank in your car, you simply drain out the gasoline, flush it out, fill it up with fresh water. Then the water fuel cell injector now allows the water to be transferred. The system approach allows the water to go in to the injector, which is now being processed to release the thermal explosive energy from hydrogen. The second part that's hooked up to it is what we've referred to here again as the gas processor that's ionizing the gas to allow it to come in. So basically in retrofit, all we're doing is simply tapping off the exhaust gases from the conventional engine. We're now using the gas processor to utilize the ambient air to ionize the gases, which is now mixing with the water, which now converts it to water fuel. We're allowing the water fuel to go into the injector that's now plugged into replaces your spark plug and allows the engine now to run off the thermal explosive energy from hydrogen.
All right, so you found a way to store a lot more hydrogen in hydride, the equivalent of a full tank of gas. You want to fill up your car. How much hydride do you need?
Well, I'll show you.
No way.
Yeah, that's the volume it takes to store enough hydrogen to propel this car close to 400 miles. Just about what it gets running on a full tank of gas.
Wow.
And it's a lot safer than gasoline.
Really?
Yeah, these tanks can be shot at with incendiary bullets or cut in half with a chainsaw, and you could throw a match on them, they just smolder like a cigarette, and you can't say that about a gas tank. Now, if you stored hydrogen and just compressed gas in a tank, certainly explode, catch on fire. Here, only the hydrogen that you need is released from the tank. When the tank's heated, it produces hydrogen and the car burns it. So there's never much gaseous hydrogen in the system at any given time.
So these are the fuel lines? No, what are these?
No, these are this provides power to the heater in the tank and also reads back the temperature of the tank.
Why is that important?
Well, when you apply heat to hydride, it releases hydrogen. So as power is applied to here, it heats the hydride,
Right.
and then the gas comes out, the big hoses on the end.
They have 4 hoses. Do they all mix into one big hose or something?
Because you can only get hydrogen out of hydride at a certain rate with a certain temperature. And in a single tank, you can't get it out at the volume you need. So you really just split it into 4 smaller units, heat them separately, and it works just fine.
Okay. Now behind me, Bob is getting ready to blow something up. Bob is blowing up water. Well, okay, he's not blowing up water because, as he said, to say you're powering your car on water is the same thing as saying that if you're running your car on gasoline, you're powering your car on dinosaurs, and we know this. This is what?
This is a Hoffman apparatus,
And it's used to
produce hydrogen and oxygen from water.
for fun, just because it's cool.
Well, if you just have a use for hydrogen and oxygen or for demonstration purposes, it works just perfect. All you got to do is fill it with water.
That's just regular water, right?
Well, actually, water with a little citric acid, potassium hydroxide, anything like that. The more conductive you make the water, the faster hydrogen will come out.
And each one of these sides is supposed to be hydrogen and oxygen?
Right. One will be hydrogen will bubble up out of one and oxygen will bubble up out of the other. Remember, water is H2O.
Right.
So when we break the bond of water apart, we'll get twice as much hydrogen gas as we do oxygen.
Oh, so what happens to the water? It just goes away.
Right. It gets converted into...
So each one of these tubes, the water just goes down, but what's left is the gas?
Right.
And there'll be more on this side?
Yes.
And that's the hydrogen side.
Exactly. And that's the negative.
Oh, so it matters which way you hook these up. So you got to hook up positive to what is... The positive's going to make...
Positive will make the oxygen, and the negative will make the hydrogen.
Okay.
So we've just connected it there,
Right.
and just by turning it on, you can see bubbles start pouring up out of there.
It's 7-Up.
Kinda.
So those bubbles are, well, they're not the same. So these are hydrogen bubbles and those are oxygen bubbles.
Right.
And this is wider. There's more of them.
Right. Oh, you can see it's really
Why is there more? Oh, H2.
two. Oh, right.
right.
There's twice as much.
Hey, that actually makes sense.
So I'll close it off so it saves,
Right.
seals the gas in, and
Right.
you'll see it'll start filling up.
Oh, we don't have to go away overnight. This will do it while we're watching.
Yeah, it'll be relatively quick. And what we'll do
Mm-hmm.
is take a little sample of the hydrogen gas
Mm-hmm.
and light it,
Right.
and you can see that.
What are these? You just have electrical current going to a piece of foil?
Well, it's a piece of platinum foil, and the reason you need platinum in there is because it's very corrosive to a metal for electrolysis to occur. I mean, it's really ripping the atoms of the metal apart, but platinum is highly resistant to corrosion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a slow method,
Right.
and it consumes a fair amount of electricity. Now, if the electricity is being produced from solar panels or a wind generator, it doesn't cost you anything, so who cares? But still, you don't want to wait, hours and hours and hours and hours to refill a vehicle. You want something that can produce hydrogen at a fairly quick rate.
Shoutouts to Defy the Narrative on TikTok. Well, now that we all know how the water car works and hydrogen conversion works, we can look at some people's interpretation of this idea that would maybe change humanity if implemented. It seems it is up to us to get the ball rolling on this, as governments around the world have been stalling on this technology. What do you think about it?
Hi, my name is Grant, and this is a 1998 Ford Explorer Sport. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ford's Explorer line, but they have a reputation of being horrible gas guzzlers, and I can actually attest to that. I did the mileage tests on my truck and found out that I was getting 13.6 miles per gallon highway, which as far as I'm concerned is absolutely unacceptable. Last year alone, I spent $11.4 bajillion on gasoline. Okay, I made that number up, but it sure felt like it. Well, I did something about it, and now I'm getting 56% better gas mileage, which translates to 56% savings in my pocket at the gas pump. How did I do it? My truck is now a water hybrid. Check this out. Well, technically, it's a hydrogen on demand hybrid. What we have here is distilled water with 1 teaspoon of baking soda used as a catalyst. We tickle that water with 12 volts of electricity, and what it does is it separates the hydrogen from the oxygen. That gas is then sent into the combustion chamber, where I was formerly getting a 30% burn. That's right, in all of your gas vehicles, you only get a 30% fuel burn, which translates to 70% of your fuel, of your gas, comes out of your tailpipe. Now, however, I'm getting a 100% burn in my combustion chamber, which means a few benefits. Number one, after a couple hours of running hydrogen, it had blown years of deposits out of my engine. My engine actually idles so quietly in city traffic I can't even hear it. My torque increased, my horsepower increased significantly, and like I said, right now I'm getting 56% better gas mileage highway, and I'm getting 35% better gas mileage city. Safety. Of course, that's a huge concern here. We're talking about hydrogen. Look out, it's gonna blow! Just kidding. Actually, it can't blow. Remember, you're not storing hydrogen. This is hydrogen on demand. Since it's hydrogen on demand, there's never enough hydrogen in the line at any given time to cause an explosion or a fire in the case of an accident. If you do happen to get in a car accident, you've got water and broken glass, and that's it. This is a 100% safe system. Now, after about 3,000 miles, your water's gonna end up looking like this. It gets dirty, and this is what's referred to as blooms. It's a byproduct of the distilled water, the baking soda catalyst, and the electricity running through the system. Now, the important thing is this water is not toxic to you or the environment, so you can literally pour it anywhere and you're not going to be doing any damage to the environment. Distilled water, which you can make, you don't necessarily have to buy it. I just bought it for ease. This is your baking soda catalyst. You're going to use 1 teaspoon per jar of distilled water. After the conversion, my emissions went down to almost 0. However, I'm completely offsetting those negligible emissions because now my tailpipe is pumping all kinds of oxygen back out into the atmosphere. The great thing about howtosavefuel.com is the fact that Alex Rivera installs this in your car with a team of certified mechanics, so you don't have to worry about it. And they guarantee their work, so if anything ever goes wrong with the system, they're gonna fix it. And if I ever want to go back to 100% gas and not use the hydrogen system, all I have to do is very simply pull the fuse.
I can't believe that this service is not mandatory in Canada, because we need trucks to get around in the snow and on the rough roads up here.
This man designed a machine that creates drinking water from the air. Not only this, but he also distributes it for free to those in need.
It's just like if everybody started creating a car that ran on water like the one in 1976. If you start having hundreds of people start to create different inventions and different alternative ways to use fuel, all of a sudden, how are they going to stop that? But if only one person is creating a car that ran on water in 1976, and his name is Stanley, if only his car is created, then Stanley will be stopped. But if there's thousands of Stanleys making water-powered cars, all of a sudden you can't stop that. And that's why they want to keep the people in the public education system, because there's no creativity and there's no inventions occurring in their mind. They're only being programmed to the spectrum that they are in, and they are only a part of that. And when they're only a part of seeing those things, they only believe that that's all that we can have, because the system has ingrained it into their mind. Versus when you start to unwind all of that, you can then see what the true potential of humanity is, the true potential of our health, the true potential of our essence.
Do you guys think that our educational system purposely stagnates new ideas from our children and programs them with false narratives? Comment below. I would love to hear from you.
Charles Pogue was a Canadian mechanic and automotive enthusiast who began experimenting with carburetors in the early 1930s to enhance fuel efficiency. For those unfamiliar, a carburetor is a component in a gasoline engine that combines air and fuel for combustion. This mixture is then directed into the engine cylinders where it ignites to power the vehicle. Unlike conventional carburetors that mix air with liquid gasoline, Pogue's design fully vaporized the fuel before it entered the combustion chamber, significantly improving efficiency. In 1936, Pogue was granted a patent for his high-mileage carburetor, marking the third iteration of his invention. That same year, the Breen Motor Company conducted tests on a Ford 5.8 coupe equipped with the Pogue carburetor, achieving an impressive 26.2 miles per pint of gasoline, equivalent to nearly 220 miles per gallon. Ford also conducted their own tests, reporting a remarkable 200 miles per gallon, while Canadian Automotive magazine confirmed a figure of 218 miles per gallon in their assessment. The excitement generated by these findings, however, didn't bode well for Pogue. As news spread, oil company stock prices plummeted, leading brokers to flood the market with sell orders. Shortly after, Pogue's workshop was broken into, resulting in the theft of all his carburetors, equipment, notes and documents. Disheartened, he never produced another carburetor again.
Some of you are asking, how can a light work without being plugged in or having batteries? The answer is energy from the ether, which we will learn more about right now with a video from I Go By William on TikTok. Thanks to Curtis and Cryas for those videos demonstrating how copper and a strong magnet can pull electricity directly from the ether, which is all around us all the time. I hope you all feel as disheartened as I do with the current state of power production on our planet. Shame on us, eh?
There used to be a substance on the periodic table that could power the world without wires, without fuel, and without pollution, and it's called ether. Ether was removed off the periodic table, but the ancient builders of Tartaria and before knew how to harness it to build things, and you can harness it today. Ether was believed to be the invisible energy in the air, and mainstream scientists accepted it and used it to explain how light traveled. Up until the 1800s, after the Michelson-Morley experiment, they claimed that they couldn't detect it. But the reason why I believe they took it away is because ether is extremely valuable and allows you to have free energy. Physical phenomena that depends on ether are cymatics, like right here, electrostatics, magnetism, and electricity. Ether is a substance that God created. Check this out. So what do you guys think so far? Why do you think the mainstream doesn't use ether for everything? And it turns out that zero-point energy devices like magnetic vortex engines and free energy coils harness ether. And this right here is a guy creating a light with just coils and magnets. He harnesses the ether to light a light bulb. You'll see. He just has his wires, he plugs it right in. It's not plugged into a wall or anything. You can scroll back if you need to relook at it. This is just sitting on a table, and he harnesses the ether, and it's lighting up right there. So why are we paying for gas? Why are we paying for electricity from the electric grid again, when you can just make this on a large scale to power your house, power your car? Why are we paying that? And the reason why they're not going to make this en masse is because it would collapse trillion-dollar industries. It would make you have more money. You would have more money in your pockets. The Tartarians used that. The Tartarian structures with those antenna coils or the antennas at the top of those buildings that harness the ether. There was free, clean energy everywhere. They can't charge you for air, so that's why they want you to rely on fuel, rely on the power grid, so they can keep you under control. What do you guys think? What else do you think the government is hiding that would benefit all of us? And if you like this type of content, go ahead and like, comment, and share, and follow for more.
Well, that is all the time we have for episode 4, eh? I hope that you have all learned that there are a few ways that the government is probably hiding from us when it comes to energy consumption and creation. Until next time, stay warm and be nice to your neighbor, eh?